All right, welcome to mini lecture 4 for module 6. We have this one and one more, and that will be it for our mini lectures for this module. What I want to do in this quick lecture is talk briefly about the idea of globalization, wages, and labor. Now, what I want you to think about is global manufacturing is a landscape. As we talked about globalization, which means increased interconnectedness of economies, what we have to remember is that each element of that economy influences where things occur. So labor is just one of the economic resources that governs where things are manufactured, for example. And it's important to understand that the cost of labor plays into that. So if we look at the world in terms of what different countries make, this is kind of an interesting map because what it shows is by value, what is the largest single export group from a given country. And so, for example, if you look at Brazil, their largest single component of export is transport equipment. Or if you look at Australia, the largest single export component is coal. Now, if we look at Asia, what we see is that for the most part, we see kind of a mix between raw material exports. So, for example, Mongolia exports copper. North Korea, to the degree that it can't export anything, exports minerals. We see that India exports precious stones primarily. Indonesia exports wood products. Malaysia exports wood products. And then you see that in terms of some of the others, they're primary manufacturing, things like textiles. Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Vietnam, all are exporters of textiles. Now, why is that the case? Well, it's fairly easy to explain. And again, if I look at this, what you'll see there is Cambodia, Vietnam, China, India, Bangladesh are by and large the major world exporters and manufacturers of clothing. In fact, for the United States, Asia accounts for almost 70% of our clothing production. And that happens because, not surprisingly, it's really cheap there. If you look at the cost of labor to produce garments in the United States, it's almost $2,000 a month. In other words, a garment worker will be paid a minimum monthly wage of about $1,864. Now compare that to a Bangladeshi garment worker, $197, 1/10 the cost. The skill sets in all likelihood are fairly comparable. As a result, it makes perfect sense to manufacture most clothing where the labor costs are cheapest. Now you also notice though that we do get some of our clothes from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Why? Even though they're more expensive, the transportation costs offset it. So again, two components, how far away and how cheap. Now we can also see this in terms of automobile production. In the United States, an auto worker, all in terms of compensation, including benefits, costs nearly $45 or nearly $46 an hour. Slightly less in Canada, but not much. Now, Mexico, on the other hand, $7.80 an hour. If you go all the way to India, though, and India is a major automobile manufacturer, their labor costs are incredibly cheap, $2.10 per hour for the equivalent labor. Now, what that means is that India can hire 21, almost 22 people for the same price of a single worker in the United States. That means that more cars are going to be made where labor's cheaper. Now, that only plays to a certain degree because, again, cars are really expensive to move around the world. But labor is an important component of globalization. Where labor is cheap, more manufacturing will happen. Lower skilled labor is even cheaper. All right, that's it for mini lecture 4. One more left, and that'll be mini lecture 5 on population. We'll see you there next time.